Hey there, welcome back. Let's dive straight into something we all deal with at one point or another: arguments. They're an inevitable part of life, from disagreements with a partner to tensions at work, with friends, or even within the family. Nobody enjoys arguing, but it's an essential part of human interaction. For some, it's more than just a conversation gone wrong. It becomes addictive. The intensity, the emotional highs, and the adrenaline rush can be quite alluring. But here's the truth. Not every argument has to be painful or leave you feeling drained. In fact, with the right approach, arguments can become healthy and constructive, paving the way for better understanding and growth. Of course, there are people who thrive on conflict. You've probably encountered them. They live for the drama, not the resolution. For them, it's not about finding common ground. It's about feeding off the tension, the raised voices, the emotional chaos. If you're up against someone like that, it's best to disengage. No amount of rationality will work with those who crave the fight more than the solution. But for the rest of us, who just want to navigate life's inevitable disagreements with a little more grace, there's hope. Even the most calm and level-headed people find themselves in disagreements, and that's okay. The key is learning how to handle them without damaging the relationship. First, let's acknowledge something important. Anger isn't something to suppress. Think about how often we're told to count to 10 when we're angry, hoping that by the time we get to 10, the feelings will have vanished. Sure, it might pause the rage momentarily, but as soon as you think about the issue again, those emotions surge right back. Neuroscience shows us that anger activates specific parts of the brain, the amygdala, hypothalamus, and periaqueductal gray, all of which are responsible for triggering your fight response. When this system is activated, you aren't in control. Your brain is on autopilot, responding to what it perceives as a threat. That's where things get tricky. Most arguments aren't life-threatening, but your brain doesn't know that. It responds to emotional threats with the same urgency as physical ones. So instead of ignoring or burying anger, let's acknowledge it for what it is. The goal of an argument should never be about winning. Winning means you've positioned yourself as a threat to the other person, which only deepens the divide. Instead, approach the situation with a different mindset. It's you and the other person working together to solve a problem, not you against them. This shift in perspective changes the entire dynamic of the conversation. Another effective technique is to change the environment. Moving to a different room or stepping outside can have an immediate calming effect. When your brain is on high alert, as it often is during an argument, changing the scenery helps reset that tension. If you're having a heated discussion in the kitchen, suggest moving to the living room. If it's a disagreement at work, step outside or move to a quieter space. Your brain responds to these physical changes, lowering its threat response and allowing for a more productive conversation. Let's also talk about communication. When you're angry, the natural instinct is to list all the things the other person has done wrong. It's tempting to unload everything at once, to make your case as clear and compelling as possible. But that rarely works. Instead, try asking questions. Questions invite dialogue and open the door to understanding. Instead of saying, "You were late again, and that's unacceptable," try asking, "Why were you late? Did you realize it would upset me?" The difference may seem small, but it shifts the focus from blame to conversation. Once you've asked your questions, it's crucial to create space for both sides to speak. This is where patience comes in. Don't interrupt, don't rush, just listen. After both of you have spoken, follow up with more questions to clarify. This helps ensure that both parties are truly heard and understood. Clarifying questions like, "Can you explain that a bit more?" Or, "I want to make sure I understand. Do you mean?" can work wonders in dismantling tension. Here's something that's easy to overlook. Most of the time, the argument isn't really about you. It's so easy to internalize your partner staying out late as a sign they don't care about you, or to think your colleague's missed deadline was a personal attack. But often, the reality is far simpler. Maybe your partner stayed out late because they were enjoying themselves, not because they were trying to hurt you. Maybe your colleague missed the deadline because they were overwhelmed, not because they were trying to sabotage you. When we stop assuming the worst, we make space for empathy and understanding. Lastly, let's talk about something as basic as food. Being hangry is real. Low blood sugar can seriously affect your ability to think clearly and manage emotions. When you're hungry, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, the same hormones that prepare you for a fight. If you find yourself getting irrationally angry during a disagreement, take a step back and ask yourself if hunger might be part of the problem. A quick snack could be all it takes to de-escalate the situation. To wrap things up, let's revisit a few important points for handling arguments with grace and intention. First, remember that it's not about winning. It's about solving the problem together. Second, changing your environment can reset the emotional tone of the argument. Third, asking questions invites understanding and prevents defensive reactions. Fourth, give both sides a chance to speak uninterrupted, then clarify and ask more questions. Lastly, don't forget the basics. Make sure you're not hungry before diving into a tough conversation. Healthy arguments aren't just possible. They're necessary for strong, resilient relationships. When you approach conflict with the goal of mutual understanding rather than victory, you're on the path to healthier, more fulfilling interactions. So the next time you feel the tension rising, take a breath, remember these principles, and approach the conversation with patience and empathy. You've got this.